Travis County Commissioner Jeff Trevelyan, round of applause. Sarah Favre, the National Board Member of Farmer Mac and a regenerative farmer herself, round of applause. And Karen Ascott, who is the co-founder of Holosia and a bioregional leader. Round of applause. All my Texas people, so glad to see you. Thank you so much for being here and the collaboration to get this panel as part of our event today. So, you know, Karen, when we were preparing for this conversation, you mentioned that surprisingly little of Austin's food supply is grown here. And I'm wondering if you can help us understand what the local food production looks like where we are.
Danny, thank you so much for having us. This is fantastic. Yes, so we're in Travis County. This county has approximately 200,000 acres of farmland, and yet in Austin, the food we consume, only 0.06% of it is produced in Travis County. So you heard that right, it's less than 1%. So it's a serious problem. We have a major mismatch between farmland and what's being grown and what people need and want to eat.
Yeah, that need is really there, and we need to figure out a way to meet it. Sarah, that leads me to you. Why is it so difficult to access farmland? I mean, I think it's been made clear, but please explain to me sort of piece by piece.
So the biggest problem with accessing farmland is capital. And although it's not necessary to own farmland to produce a living on it, you have to have secure long-term access if you're going to farm in a way that takes care of the soil. And even my farm's in Milam County, and even that land is probably 2 orders of magnitude or an order of magnitude overvalued compared to its agricultural production. So a farmer trying to start out can't afford to buy land.
Yeah, and that's the tragedy of all of this, right? That farmers can't afford land. Chris, if I can turn to you, I want to talk about consolidation of land, food, and power, and what that does to local communities. What is the real impact?
Also, thanks for having us here today. Really appreciate the opportunity. So we're in an environment right now where over the last, especially 40 or 50 years, we've seen a real consolidation of the ability of a select few individuals and organizations to kind of decide what our communities look like. So my favorite terrible example is Dollar General. My community has 2 Dollar Generals in a community of 21,000 and a Dollar Tree and a Family Dollar, all of whom have a very low level of service, pay, quality, et cetera. And we didn't decide about any of those coming to us. So what's evolved in that, when you add to the consolidation in the banking industry, the reduction of local banking, et cetera, the people that make decisions about what our communities look like, it's really separated those of us, the regular folks who live in our communities, from the ability to decide what our communities look like, what kind of businesses and projects we want to have in our communities. And that's the work that we do at NC3, is providing mechanisms for communities that want to determine on their own selves what they want their communities to do. And I think tangential to that, and you'll need to stop me because I'll go too far, right, is the idea of wealth building. So wealth is built when community recirculates within when dollars recirculate within communities. And when dollars do not recirculate in communities, that is when there is a loss of the ability to build wealth, because it's when that dollar comes in and moves from one business to another business to a family who invests another dollar in their business that wealth is building. We were talking right before, if you can get wealth to recirculate 10 times in your community, 12 times, it's like a grand slam home run. Today, there are communities that we work with. Right now, we're doing a big project in Detroit. In Detroit, when a dollar comes into the community, it exits in 20 minutes. So there is no way to build wealth. And so we need to do that, and we need to do that in every sector on every front, including, obviously, agriculture and food.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for explaining that, and you weren't too long at all. Commissioner, if I can turn to you, I mean, legislation has to be a huge part of all that we've discussed, whether it's, power and consolidation, access to land. How do we sort of legislate for resilience in small and medium-sized farmers?
So what we have learned in Travis County and what our community has learned is It really takes local people working together because our state legislature, as it relates to taking care of human needs, is lost.
Yeah.
When we talk about public education, public access to health care, public access to nutrition, you see very few bills that are community-centered there. So what we have to do is work among ourselves and use the few land use tools that we have available. The reason that we have some farmland available is that it was on the part of town that was redlined. This was the part of town that was the minority part of town that was largely left alone for development. Well, now that's all you have left. And the question becomes, can we organize as a community? Can we work together with our city councils and our county commissions to make sure that we are doing the things that are necessary to save property ownership, but also the ability to do business, to borrow against, to make sure that your property is productive?
Yeah, yeah. So that organizing as a community, what does that look like for you?
So we have had to do it in a number of instances. We did it last during the pandemic. What we found was, there were 65 available places to get the serum. Well, 57 of them were west of I-35. So we had to build our own delivery system. So we did that through working with our churches, working with our public schools, working with our community organizations, and building relationships where they didn't exist before.
Yeah.
So everything that we did, we built ourselves. We did not wait we did, and we said, if it's bad, we'll apologize later.
Yeah, that's the way to do it, and you couldn't wait. You had to do those things then. I think this is a question for all of you. What's being described here comes with a lot of political risk and reputational risk. I don't know who wants to address that first, but I imagine, not that it's scary, but it's difficult, right?
I'll speak up because I also, in addition to being a rancher, am on the board of a public company. So I chair the Strategy and Business Development Committee, and political risk and reputational risk are high on our agenda. And it's an ag mortgage company, and across banks and financial institutions that loan to farmers, there is generally, in the C-suites, support for loaning for regenerative, sustainable, transformative farming operations. But there's a political and a reputational risk for that because the majority of operations are not that way.
Yeah.
And you can be seen to be trying to force farmers into doing something. And the best way to get them not to do it is to try to force them.
Yeah.
And there's also the financial returns, which is why these community financing models and alternative financing and demand through CPGs from consumers is such an important piece of this to get things moving.
Absolutely. It's those relationships, please.
Yes, so we are working to organize all this kind of demand. So Holosia, our company mission, is to regenerate human, community, and planetary health. And the first thing we're working on is nature farms, which will be community-owned farms that will be preserving very large tracts of farmland in perpetuity, and the farms will be growing the food that supports the community. And regenerative farming, I think everybody who's here knows by now that this is a way to produce much more nutritious food than what you're finding frequently. Let's say that. And so that is exactly what we're doing, is organizing the community and empowering individuals like yourselves to get this farmland. And it's a really unique financing method that involves leveraging your property values so that to get bonds. And the bonds get paid off through the food that you buy. And so we think it's very low risk because anybody who gets involved and does this, you're doing it because you want better food. So you're going to be buying your food box.
Thank you so much, Commissioner.
Well, I come from a tradition. Both of my grandparents were active farmers into their 70s. And this is the way that it was done.
Yeah.
They organized in their churches and they organized in their neighborhoods. They were cousins and friends that grew up together. they grew everything that they consumed.
Yeah.
So this is not a foreign concept for us.
Right.
The question is, how do you rebuild the institutions that made that success possible? Because a lot of people moved from their farms into the city. And now they can't afford to live in the city, and they're being pushed back to their farms. How do we work together to build through our institutions and make sure that we're successful? Because our church institutions is where we invested our money. It's where we shared food. It's where we built relationships. And what we're talking about at its essence is relationship building and pooling our money to make sure that our children are taken care of.
Exactly. Chris?
So I think the moment is really powerful right now because this really all comes down to community. It comes down to relationships, as we said, and our work has been in that space for a while. What we've just been forcefully fed is the idea that we must do it on our own. There isn't going to be reliable capital coming from outside of our communities, at least from Washington, D.C. And so I think that's an opportunity for us to take advantage of that and the energy around that to say, let's change the paradigm. And that's really what we're about. So we're right now building community investment funds. And in full transparency, this is a really hard thing to do because the legislation around it is convoluted, and it's very unkind to about 90% of the population and every single small community. So we're doing some really creative things. Fortunately, we've got some really smart attorneys that understand securities laws, and we're creating community investment funds. We started the very first one in Rhode Island last fall, and we're going to build about 3 more this year and hopefully 30 or 40 more next year. But the idea is we're returning that ability to control what happens back to the community. We're building wealth. We're giving you an opportunity to decide where you want to invest your money and how you can build what you want, what meets the needs of your communities in your own communities. So we're going to take advantage of the energy, the negative energy that's out there, and flip it on its ear.
I love that you're flipping it. I love that there's this creative finance model that Raj alluded to earlier. I love that the organizing aspect is around community and around all of the different players. Any final words from all of you? You're talking to a crowd of Texans and people who came here, flew here from many places. What do you want them to know about this model and what it can do?
So I want you to know it's possible. And in fact, you could leave today and invest in regenerative farming in a project somewhere in the country, and you could start your own projects right now. So there's a really great platform. I know many times you've said, what's the call to action? So the call to action is to go on a website called Steward. And interestingly, we've had that word used up here today, that we're stewards of this land, et cetera. So on Steward, they only fund regenerative projects, and you can become, no matter who you are and where you are, you can become someone who loans money to that project, and you will get a return on your investment, and you'll accomplish something great. So do that today, and wherever your community is, and find folks in your own community where you can do that and make a difference, because we need to start doing stuff right now. We can't wait, we can't push it off. Let's go to work and change the world.
The urgency is here. Commissioner.
I think it's a proven concept. I think that communities putting their arms around each other and solving their own problems is the way to move forward. We've seen what's happening in Washington now. Some wonder whether the government will be shut down tonight. It's been being shut down for 6 weeks now. And we are the people that we have been waiting for. We don't need anyone else to save ourselves. We can do it together right now.
Right on. Thank you so much.
I would say exercise your power wherever you have it. Invest when you can. And eat as much local. And when you are buying things that have a label on them, look for regenerative. Look for organic. Regenerative gets you closer to where you need. Ideally, they'll be both. But use your power.
And sign up for our newsletter so you can learn how we are going to accomplish a transformation of the Central Texas food system through a community ownership model. Halosia.
Thank you all so much. Please give them a round of applause. I love these Texans. Thank you. Thanks so much.